So first you want to start off by cutting out a rectangle shape from your sponge or your foam, and I recommend that you draw it out first using a pen and also use a ruler as well to create straight lines. And of course you can make yours as big or as small as you want, and since my sponge is already in a rectangle shape I didn't have to do that part. And my sponge is 12 centimetres down and also 7.5 centimetres across, so that's how big my sponge is. And it is also 4 centimetres thick at the moment. And I'm going to be cutting my sponge into 2 separate pieces, or rather 3 separate pieces, but I'm only going to be using 2 of them. And as you can see, I've already drawn lines down this part here, again just using a pen. And these are about 1 centimetre thick. So I'm going to be making 2 separate Pop-Tart squishies with this sponge. So you don't want to cut the sponge too thin, of course, because otherwise then the squishy is just going to be too delicate. And also if you think 1 centimetre is still a little bit too thin, then obviously you can make it thicker if you want to. And then next what you want to do is you just want to use your craft knife and cut out the pieces. So I'm just going to do that and I'll be right back. So here is what the 2 finished shapes look like. And the reason why I didn't end up using the 3rd piece of the sponge, or the middle piece of the sponge, is because I wanted to use the 2 pieces that still had the flat side of the sponge on them, so that way then I wouldn't have to smooth off both of the sides. So I just threw the middle part away and decided just to use these 2 pieces. And I also ended up making these just a little bit thicker because I realised as I started cutting them that they were going to be just too thin. So I actually ended up messing up on the first bit, so I ended up having to use another sponge and then cut out a piece from that one. But this time make it just a little bit thicker. And then what I did was I just smoothed off the other side of the sponge just using my scissors. And it doesn't have to look perfect because I feel like the uneven edges just make it just look a little bit more realistic in my opinion. But you want to make sure that they are in a neat rectangle shape, so that's why I recommend using a ruler for that part. But again, my sponge was already in this shape, so again I didn't have to do that bit. And also another thing that I was hoping to do was to add a hair clip inside of them to create that cracking sound to make them even more realistic. But since these are still kind of on the thinner side, I decided not to do that in the end. But again, you can do that if you want to. But I recommend that you make the squishies a little bit thicker because otherwise then the hair clip is just going to poke through them. So I just made mine just a tiny bit thicker, as you can probably see. And the edges are not completely neat at all, but again I just feel like that just makes them look even more realistic. And then once you have the shapes ready, we can move on to the next step. So now this next step is completely optional, but I decided that I wanted to cover one of the squishies with double-sided tape, just to make it a lot more slow rising, hopefully. And I actually got this idea from someone who commented on one of my videos recently, and they requested that I make some double-sided tape squishies, which I've never done before. So I decided that I would try it out in this tutorial. And by the way, I'll put the name of them on the screen, the person that requested that. So I recently got some double-sided tape, and actually got this from a charity shop quite recently for £1, as you can probably see. It's originally from Tesco's, but I got it in a charity shop for £1. Yeah, I just randomly saw this in there, and I just thought, oh well, since I'm looking for double-sided tape, I might as well just get it there. And I'm just going to try and cover the whole sponge with this tape, and hopefully it'll work out, because again, I've never done this before, so I'm really hoping that the tape sticks to the sponge. If not, then I'm just going to just leave it normal and just paint both of them like this. But we'll see how it goes. So I'm just going to do that, and I'll be right back. So here is what it looks like once I've finished covering it completely with double-sided tape. And I ended up doing this bit off camera because, like I said before, I've never used double-sided tape on a squishy, so I really wanted to focus on what I was doing. And as you can see, it's not the neatest job ever. I still need to fix this little bit here, but thankfully I was able to cover pretty much the entire thing with tape, because I was worried that the tape just wasn't going to stick to the sponge, but thankfully it actually sticked very well to it, which I'm really happy about. And it is really, really sticky, as you can tell. And by the way, this step is just completely optional. You do not have to do this bit if you don't want to. But I really wanted to try this method out just to see how it would work. And again, I just left the other Pop-Tart squishy the way it is. And I'm just going to be just comparing the squishiness of both of them once they're done. And yeah, this tape was really, really fiddly to use because I've never actually used double-sided tape before. At least I don't think I have. So it was really difficult trying to like peel away this part and trying to get to the sticky bit underneath. But thankfully I was able to do it after a little while. And again, still not the neatest job ever, but it's really the best that I could do. I'm sure I'm going to get better with this. And hopefully this is going to make this one even squishier, but again, we'll see at the end of the video. So once you've done that, we can move on to the next step. is what they look like once I've finished painting them, and I'm really happy with how they both turned out. So for this one I decided to make it a hot fudge sundae Pop-Tart, and then for this one I made it look like a cookies and cream Pop-Tart. And these are both flavours that I have tried before. At least I think I've tried the hot fudge sundae one. I can't really remember. But I know that I've definitely tried this one and it was really good. So these are the flavours that I decided to go for. But you can of course paint yours however you want to make it look like whatever kind of Pop-Tart you want. And I just used these two images here as reference, then also looked at a few more images on Google as reference as well. Or you could probably even make up your own design if you want to. You can really do or paint it however you want. Also really like how the sprinkles turned out on this one as well. I think using foam sheets was a really good idea. But again, you can make the sprinkles however you want. You can make them out of coloured paper, or you can even paint them on one by one just using loads different colours of puffy paint if you want to. I think this worked out really good. And then I also used foam sheets for this one, except I just used the black foam sheet just to create the Oreo crumbles on this one. And then also just used some black puffy paint and just splattered it onto the icing just to create more Oreo crumbs. Then I just picked off random pieces of the foam sheet and then just put them randomly all over the icing. And again, I think that worked out really good. But I think I like this one just a little bit more just because it has just a bit more colour to it, and also I just really love the sprinkles on it. But I'm really happy with both of them. So now you just want to let these completely dry and then your squishies will be done. Okay, so now I am finally back a few days later and these are finally dry, probably because I used so much puffy paint for the icing. These just took a little while longer to dry. But anyways, here they are and I'm really happy with how they both turned out. So first of all is this one, and it is the hot fudge sundae Pop-Tart. And it is really soft and squishy, as you can see. It's really slow rising on the edges. And I really like how the sprinkles turned out on this one. Again, I think using the foam sheets was a really good idea. And I think it looks pretty realistic. And also, it is up to you if you want to add any more details to the back of the Pop-Tart, because I know that the Pop-Tart usually has like little tiny holes in it, or like extra details on the back, but I decided just to not add that to mine. But of course you can do that if you want to. And then there's this one, which is the cookies and cream Pop-Tart, and this is the one that I used the double-sided tape on. And this one is actually just a little less squishy compared to this one, but still it's pretty good. And you might be able to hear the air coming out of it when I squish it. And I really like this one as well. However, I probably could have done a better job on making the cookie crumbs just because I don't really like how they turned out. Again, I definitely prefer this one more. So yeah, you can hear the air coming out of this one. So yeah, I definitely say that this one is a little bit less squishy compared to this one. But still, this one is a lot of fun to squish. And I definitely want to use double-sided tape for more of my squishies in the future. Just because I really want to get better at using it, because this still isn't the neatest job ever, like I've said before. But I definitely want to practice with this. I think these both look really good and also quite realistic. They definitely make me very hungry. Also, this one is way shinier as well. But yeah, anyways, that is it for this tutorial. I really hope you enjoyed watching. And as always, please feel free to request any more squishy tutorials you would like me to do in the comments below. And I really hope you enjoyed this one. And thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.